programa sakop sa KBP, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
A doctors group says hospitals are keeping watch, while research experts say holiday gatherings may not be the cause for this uptick in infections. 5 months away from the big day, the Commission on Elections simulates the 2022 polls from voting to transmission of votes, complete with health protocols. And with the clock counting down to New Year's Eve, Filipinos are rushing to buy medianoche staples. We'll check how sales are going for fruits and ham. Fruits and ham, and a popular favorite, lechon. COVID-19 cases are on the rise, with the country now seeing 889 new infections. This is the highest daily tally since November 27, when new cases were at 899. Active cases are now over 10,400, excluding data from 3 laboratories. More than 200 patients recovered. Recovered, 28 others died. The independent research group says today's tally is lower than its projected range of 1,200, but it's still the same. But it's still a significant increase from the previous day. Octa says this may likely increase further before the new year. It all COVID-19 tests performed, especially Lodalo there, reporting from Puerto Princesa. Well, up ahead on Newsnight, comment
RPN, Radio Philippines Network Incorporated, DXKO. 13 sa Little Uso sa Daya sa inyong radyo. RPN DXKO, ang radyo ronda tuni sa Retalan sa Cagayan de Oro. Sigahan na may dalaong sa katawan, ang bawang serbisyo sa tanan. Ang RPN DXKO radyo ronda, sakop sa KBP, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas. Wish her a Christmas that's merry and bright. Si Joy Martinez sa Maryland, USA, nananaw sa tanan alang sa safe, healthy, and relaxing holiday season. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year! Gikan kang Joy Martinez na nakabase sa Maryland, USA. Christmas is a season not only of rejoicing, but of reflection. Si Dr. Doris Fe Tagayuna sa unang distrito ng siyudad sa Cagayan de Oro, uminaw na matagbanay makasinati sa matuod na gugma o kalipay ning kapanahunan sa Pasko hangtod na sa pagsugat sa bagong tuig. Ang iyang pag-ampo na mapuno sa milagro ang atong masaulugan uban sa dili marintang pangitabo hangtod sa hangtod matagan nato sa bili. Sa gihapon, ang Pasko is the most wonderful time of the year. Balik tayong Pasko mula ang bagong tuig sa tanan. Mensahe ang ipaabot kay Dr. Doris Fe Tagayuna sa unang distrito ng siyudad sa Cagayan de Oro.
Ang panahon sa Pasko mo'y panahon alang sa kalipay kasanya sa Kristohanong katilingban o sa tibuok kaributan. Atong sa ulugon ang Pasko o bagong tuig uman sa pag-amping, isan pa man ang panahon sa pandemya. Ang Pasko panahon sa paghinatagay, paghinahang panay, panagtigong sa pamilya. Higala ang mga barkada. Ang Pasko mo'y paghandong sa pagkatao sa atong manunubos na si Ginoong Hesukristo. Si Mayor Alexis Quina sa lungsod sa Balingasag, Misamis Oriental, uban sa iyang hamiling manay, itimbaya sa tanang taga-Balingasag, Misamis Oriental o sa tanan, sa ka malipayong Pasko o bulahang bagong tuig sa tanan. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year kaninyong tanan gikan ni Mayor Alexis Quina sa lungsod sa Balingasag.
Ning panahon sa Pasko, atong ipakita ang atong pagmamahalay, kalimtan ang mga pagmahal, kalinggot, kasuko sa atong isikatawo. Bisan pa man sa pandemya o bagong migo nga bagyong Odette nga nakahatag sa problema o nidaot sa kinabuhi o kabtanan sa daghan natong mga kaigsuonan sa Visayas o Mindanao. Dili mamahimong babag sa atong pagsaulo sa Pasko. Maglipay kita kay Pasko na. Si board member Bibing Lumadag sa lalawigan sa Misamis Oriental itibaya sa tanan sa usa ka malipayong Pasko o bulahang bagong tuig sa tanan. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year kaninyong tanan. Gikan ni board member Bibing Lumadag sa Misamis Oriental.
Nagpangita ka ba sa kagamitan pagmanong sa sulog? Ayaw mo ang problema. Matubag ka na sa Unifier Industrial Enterprises. Anak kanila ang mga dry chemical fire extinguishers o magpatigilan sa pagsumpo sa sulog sama sa mga fire hydrant, fire hose o bulantan. Ayaw mo problema. Dali na kung nalunan problema tao sa sulog. Kung sa iyong paglagan, bisita sa ilang buwan o tawag sa cellphone number 0916-480-3267 o sa ilang telepono 088-881-3954. Ang Unifier Industrial Enterprises ay utang sa Salsido Bukal na kudaw sa Division Colombo Lapasan Nignan Bayan sa Cagayan de Oro. Si Aldrin Tondo nagyang tumumala sa Unifier Industrial Enterprises uman sa iyang gabiling balay inibayan sa tanan sa Kamalipayang Pasko o mabungahon bagong tuig sa tanan. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all. Ika ni Mr. Al Redondo.
Merry Christmas! Nung ating matagan sa live yourself. May this wonderful time of Christmas and New Year fills your life with happiness, health, and wealth. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Have a nice time. A message from Arlene Katayo-Kuraiden from Germany. Si Arlene Katayo-Kuraiden na taga-Baliwagang Balinasang Misamis Oriental usa na ka-certified podologist sa Germany. Nag-specialize siya sa mga diabetic patients and circulatory disorders of the lower extremity. Subli sa tanan, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from Arlene Katayo-Kuraiden of Germany.
Si Nick Neary sa lalawigan sa Camiguin may parangal siyang masubo sa mga katawan sa Mindanao o sa Visayas, ilabi na sa mga napiguan sa kusog ng Baguio ulit nga miyapak sa Visayas o sa Mindanao. Ning panahon sa Pasko, panahon sa kalipay, kay mo ko niyang pagkatao sa atong Ginoo na si Jesu Cristo. Bisan po man sa pandemya nga atong masinati sa tibok kalibutan, dili nato wadon ang atong paglaw, malayo ta sa pagsandya, uban sa atong mga sakop sa pagkakay, mga higala o mga kaparintihan. Magsandya kita din panahon sa Pasko. Si Nicky Nery sa lalawigan sa Camiguin, uban sa iyang hamiling bagay, itinbaya sa tanang Camiguinon, o sa tanan sa usa ka malipayong Pasko o mabulahong bagong tuig. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to all. Gikan ni Nicky Nery sa lalawigan sa Camiguin.
Iha pa ang imong mga panalangin, kantaha ang mga awit sa Pasko o buksi ang imong mga regalo. Hinaot ang grasya sa Diyos madagaya sa atong kinabuhi, dili lamang karon nga panahon kundi hangtod na sa hangtod. Wishing you a Merry Christmas and a bountiful New Year. Mensahe na itabot na ni Mr. and Mrs. Rene Lulong Agcopra, ang nanag-iya sa Agcopra General Merchandise na himutang sa Kabulawan sakop sa lungsod sa Lagumulong, Misamis Oriental.
Mayong adlaw mga higala, kini si Deputy Speaker o Cagayan de Oro 2nd District, Congressman Rufus Rodriguez. Panahon na usab kita magselebrar sa Pasko. Higayon kini sa pagpasalamat sa Ginoo sa grasya na atong nadawat ug pagpakita sa pagminahalay sa isig katawo. Panahon sa kini nga kita magtinabangan karon padayon ta sa pagbangon gikan sa COVID-19 pandemic. Food box pag-ayuda pinansyal atong ihatag sa mga labing nanginahanglan. Katauhan una gayud sa tanan. Subli ini inyong Mr. Performance Rufus Rodriguez. Merry Christmas o Happy New Year kanatong tanan. Daghang salamat.
This Christmas season, I want to greet our Lord Jesus Christ. Nung ta sa higpit, mawala na ang COVID-19 o mabalik sa mayong paglawas ng tanan ng sakit ni sobrang pang mga balatian. Wala na tayo lugang katalagman, mga pagpakanato o unta kita makaanggo, makalibadmad sa atong mga sala na nahimo, matagang kita kalikon, kaisog, pagpakibatok sa mga tentasyon sa pagpakasala. O Merry Christmas, kanatong tanan, ang Ginoong Jesucristo, magaban nato kanunay.
Mga higala o mga mabuot na lungsuranon din sa siyudad sa Cagayan de Oro, kini si Councilor Roger Del Abaday, uban sa akong pamilya, malimbaya kaninyong tanan. Merry Christmas and advance Happy New Year. Tiliwala sa atong pandemya nga atong yatubang karon, atong yapong sa lugon ang kapaskuhan. Tungod kay kining panahon na, mao'y pagkatao sa atong labang kagagahom na nagluwas sa kanato gikan sa kasalanan, nagipadala sa iyang mahal nga Amahan. Let us celebrate Christmas with love, joy, and unity, even in the times of crisis and in trouble. So once again, kini si Councilor Roger Abaday, greetings you. Merry Christmas and advance Happy New Year. Keep safe and be strong all the time.
Kini inyong konsihala Bebot Rodriguez. Taliwala sa kalisod kita magpadayon sa pag-ampo nga himsog ug malinawon. Ang pingkanunay, maayong Pasko mga igsuon. Bebot Rodriguez, ang probinsyana, may kaisog ug kasing-kasing sa usa ka inahan.
RPN, Radio Philippines Network Incorporated, DXPO. Preses sa uso sa bawat sa inyong radyo. RPN DXPO, ang radyo ronda tumi sa Latalan sa Cagayan de Oro. Sigahan na may dalaong sa katawan, ang nawang serbisyo sa kanan. Ang RPN DXPO Radyo Ronda, sakop sa KBP, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
For many of us, we never really think much about our gallbladder, like we do our heart or the liver. But the gallbladder has a very important role in our digestive system. It's a relatively small organ located just under the liver. And there's a reason why these two organs sit next to each other. Think of them as the liver as some sort of a factory, while your gallbladder is like a warehouse. Now, the liver produces bile while the gallbladder stores and releases that bile to help break down mainly fats when you eat. You need bile to break down fats, which are actually one of the hardest parts of the food to digest. And when you break down the fats, you transform it into energy that the body can use. Today on the program, we'll talk about how to keep your gallbladder in good health to avoid the likelihood of problems such as inflammation and gallstones. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and this is Med Talk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. The gallbladder is a key component of our digestive system, and our guests are here today to tell us more about how it works, what it's for, and why we need to ensure that our gallbladder is healthy. With us is Dr. Catherine Te. She's the Chief of Hepatobiliary Pancreatic Center in Makati Medical Center and the President of the Philippine Hepatobiliary Surgeons. Also with us is Dr. Ira Inductivo Yu. She is a gastroenterologist from National Kidney and Transplant Institute and Diliman Doctors Hospital and the President of the Philippine Society of Gastroenterology. Now, when someone eats fatty food, your gallbladder receives a signal to react. I'll start first with Dr. Kathy. How does it all work? Please explain to our viewers yung basic functions ng ating gallbladder o ating abdo.
Well, technically, the gallbladder is a storage. It's a reservoir. You know, it stores the bile because the bile is secreted in the liver, and then it is 80% of it is stored in the gallbladder. Once we eat, there is some signal that is sent to the gallbladder to stimulate it, and then it will send the bile or push the bile down into the biliary tract to bring the bile down to the intestines for digestion,
Yes.
to help in the digestive process. So
Right.
technically, it's just a reservoir.
But bile has other functions as well. Dr. Ira, let's talk about that next. Some of the other functions ng bile natin.
The bile also facilitates digestion of other nutrients, and particularly when it comes to vitamins, it facilitates the digestion and absorption of fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin A, D, E, and K.
Now, we keep hearing time and time again to eat healthy, and here are more reasons why. Because certain foods can actually protect and promote a healthy gallbladder. Dr. Kathy, pag-usapan naman natin, what are these gallbladder-friendly foods naman?
We know that we need to have a good diet, a balanced diet. And basically, everything that is less fatty will be healthy for the gallbladder. Because when there is an imbalance in the amount of fat, for example, cholesterol and then the bile salts, when there is a difference in the concentration, that's when gallstones develop. And therefore, foods that are less fatty are the ones that are healthy to the gallbladder.
Okay.
So that's in a general sense, no?
Right.
But there are some certain kinds of food, for example, fish, sardines, leafy vegetables, and these are very good food for the gallbladder.
Now, when you look at the list that was shown to you, you can see a variety of protein and vitamin-rich food. And these are a mix of food items that can also make you enjoy your meals at the same time. Now, fruits and vegetables are especially full of nutrients as well as fiber. So incorporate these into your diet, not just to keep the gallbladder healthy, but they're good for the overall health of your body. Now, Dr. Ira, pag-usapan naman natin yung mga food items na pwedeng mag-increase ng likelihood ng mga problema sa gallbladder. So what are some of the foods that our viewers should avoid naman?
Anything that is very high in fat, anything that is very high in oil, the processed foods, we should try to avoid them. Avoiding this type of food will decrease the likelihood for patients to have gallbladder stones or gallbladder sludge. And if it so happens that you already have the stones there, if you try to avoid, again, oily processed foods, there is now a decreased likelihood for you to have inflammation of your gallbladder. So stay away from them. Stay away from eating too much lechon and sisig, and try your vegetables and fruits. So even if there's a fiesta and the Christmas break is coming, try to control the urge to divulge too much, to indulge yourself too much on fatty foods.
Ultimately, we want to avoid gallbladder problems such as gallstones or the inflammation of the gallbladder, and our food choices can make or break that situation. So how do we treat these various conditions? We'll find out when we return. So stay with us on MedTalk Health Talk, only here on CNN Philippines. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and welcome back to MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines, where caring is our calling. Your gallbladder works to store and release your bile, a fluid that helps the body break down and digest the food that you eat, in particular fat. Fat takes longer to digest than other foods, but you need it. It supports several of your body's functions and gives your body that energy that it needs. It's in our best interest to keep our gallbladder healthy throughout the food we eat. Dr. Kathy, explain natin sa mga viewers kung ano ba talaga ang mga gallstones. How does it form?
That's really the most common problem that we encounter, the gallstones. No? Basically, the bile has to maintain a certain balance in the concentration of the fats and the bile salts and water. So if there is a critical elevation of one component, for example, cholesterol, mataas ang level ng cholesterol, then the formation of cholesterol stones can happen in the gallbladder.
Now, another thing that may disrupt this balance that Dr. Kathy mentioned is that of skipping meals. Dr. Ira, is the practice of skipping meals, can this increase the likelihood of one person developing gallstones?
Yes, you're right. Apparently it is. In fact, if you look at the literature, people engaging themselves on crash diets are at higher risk for developing gallstones. So even if this strategy is very effective for weight loss reduction, it has another side to it. And that's what we do not want. If you indulge yourself in too fast weight reduction, in too prolonged intermittent fasting, in the long run, you might end up with gallbladder sludge.
Gallstones themselves are not necessarily the problem, and if they're not bothering you, most of the time, they don't need to be surgically removed, but they may not go away on their own. That's why I'd like to ask Dr. Ira, for those who may be concerned that they already have bile stones, are there Is it proper for our viewers to probably, even though they don't feel any symptoms, to have a check with their doctor if they do have beginning gallstones? Is this something that they should be worried about?
Yeah, definitely yes. Okay. Anything that is not supposed to be in the body should be treated and should be seen by a doctor, and that would include your gallbladder stone. In fact, these stones, even if they are there, patients should be advised properly on how to prevent inflammation of the gallbladder and what to do if ever inflammation occurs. Now, there are certain patients that should be looked into more closely because these are patients that might develop more severe complications of gallbladder. And this basically would include the diabetic patients and the elderly patients, and even patients who are on chemotherapy or immunosuppressants because they have higher tendency for infection to set in. So these are the patients that we should be looking more intently.
Now, Dr. Ira, you mentioned quite a few other comorbid conditions, ibang mga sakit like diabetes for one. Another question is, namamana ba itong mga gallbladder stones?
There are some risk factors that have been identified that would increase the risk for gallbladder inflammation when a stone is present. And this would include, first and foremost, the age. Apparently, the older you get, the higher your tendency to have cholecystitis or gallbladder wall inflammation. And they usually ascribe it to an increase in biliary cholesterol secretion in the bile, and the fact that as you age also, unfortunately, the gallbladder emptying time is also lessened. So if you try to connect these two factors together, then there you go, you have a higher tendency for cholecystitis. Now, some also would say that if you had a prior history of a stroke or a cardio or a cerebrovascular disease, you have a higher tendency for cholecystitis. But the connection and the reasoning behind it, although not fully elucidated, is there. So I think these are the people that you should again intently monitor for signs and symptoms of gallbladder complications.
Could you share with our viewers what are some of the usual warning signs that someone may have a gallbladder that needs immediate medical or surgical treatment for that matter?
Unfortunately, most of our patients with gallbladder, they don't feel anything bad. In fact, a lot of them, they will just have it incidentally diagnosed during a general checkup. However, for those who develop symptoms, the usual complaint is bloatedness, or they have this heavy feeling in the tiyan nila, mabigat, makabag. Now, for some patients, they may have pain, colicky pain on and off for several months that they will just dismiss as just having peptic ulcer disease or gastritis. Now, for the more complicated scenarios, these patients could have persistent abdominal pain. They can have even jaundice. They can have inflammation of the pancreas. They can even have sepsis because of cholangitis. Okay. Now, where is the pain usually located? So naturally, if the gallbladder becomes inflamed, the pain is localized in the right upper quadrant or in the middle of the abdomen. These are the usual reasons why they go to the clinic.
Okay, now Dr. Ira, as a follow-up to that, if someone feels those symptoms already, does medical treatment have a role here, or is it most often than not a surgical case by this time?
If the patient comes to you already with cholecystitis, the recommendation is admit, give antibiotics, and do the cholecystectomy, ideally within the same hospital admission.
Okay. The best thing here is don't wait too long. So go see a doctor when you experience any of these problems. Don't set it aside or don't think it may go away on its own. So if surgery is the only option to treat this condition, what does life look like without a gallbladder? We'll discuss this after a short break. Your health is our mission here on MedTalk Health Talk. You're watching CNN Philippines. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and this is MedTalk Health Talk, your partner in healthcare. Your gallbladder can be removed if necessary. Now, people without it can live a normal and healthy life. But this means your body isn't able to store bile in your gallbladder anymore because it has been removed. And as a result, some dietary changes are recommended at first to help your body adapt. Dr. Ira, what if someone has their gallbladder removed but still continues to eat a high-fat diet? Are there any further complications that may happen? Just to remind our viewers that eating healthy is definitely a plus.
Of course, it's not only the gallbladder that is affected by a high-fat diet. Remember, the liver, can have fatty deposition. In fact, we should eat healthy. We have to really lessen the fat for good health. Fatty liver is now a worldwide. It's a silent pandemic. And our notion before is it's just fatty liver. It will not kill me. But the problem is it's a progressive disease. And for all we know, we might end up with a lot of liver fibrosis or liver cirrhosis. So even if you do not have the gallbladder, even if you're not concerned with gallbladder stone because there's no gallbladder to begin with, you have to take care of your liver. You have to take care of your heart. And there is also such a thing as common bile duct stone. So I think you should eat healthy. Try to lessen the fatty foods.
As a reminder to our viewers to always eat healthy because it will not only manage the presence of problems with your gallbladder, but with your liver, your heart, and your whole body in general. Now, I'd like to ask Dr. Kathy, when it comes to problems with the gallbladder, ang problema lang ba ay stones or can infection and inflammation also be a cause for concern when it comes to our gallbladder? And when it comes to the stones, sa gallbladder lang ba sila nakikita?
That's very important for our viewers to know because the stones can cause the infection. Now, sometimes there's also what we call as a acalculous cholecystitis, where there's no stone but there's infection in the gallbladder. So these needs to be treated as well. And the stones, sometimes they're not only in the gallbladder. So if this migrates, the patient can turn jaundice. They will become yellow and they can develop fever. Ito yung tinatawag na cholangitis. So we don't want patients to develop cholangitis, which is infection within the biliary system.
Now, before we go, I'd like to ask Dr. Ira, are there any tips that you could share with our viewers when it comes to not just gallbladder health, but liver health as well?
Unfortunately, fatty liver is becoming one of the more common reasons now for liver cirrhosis. So we need to stop as early as possible, need to stop this bad habit of eating lots of fatty foods. Second, we need to regulate and avoid too much alcohol consumption. So if you can control your urge to drink alcohol, you have to control it right now. And then, of course, vaccinate. So we need to maximize the opportunity that we have to vaccinate ourselves and our family. We all need it. And then, of course, have your regular checkup. As physicians, we would like to see you in our clinic just for a good annual checkup. We don't like to see you with a very sick liver already. So please consult early.
Dr. Kathy, is there anything you'd like to add? Any advice for the viewers before we go?
Sometimes we do not take too much into account the diet of our children. And parang, bata pa yan pwede to. But in reality, the healthy lifestyle should start while they're young so that they develop into a good habit.
Maraming salamat, hepatobiliary surgeon Dr. Catherine Te and gastroenterologist Dr. Ira Inductivo Yu for being with us today. We appreciate your time and insights very much. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and thank you for watching MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. We'll see you again next time. Stay safe.
RPN, Radio Philippines Network Incorporated, DXPO. Process